Hello, my witchlets. We're back, and this video is going to be a video for Imbolc recipes. Imbolc is the halfway point between the winter solstice and the vernal equinox. It is the literal start of the spring season, and it usually is celebrated February 1st. In modern times, there was a Christian holiday developed called Candlemas, which is usually celebrated on February 2nd. Now, a lot of times Imbolc and Candlemas are used interchangeably, but they are two completely different holidays. Imbolc is a Celtic holiday celebrating Brigid, and there's a lot of different things. Her familiars are like cows and sheep and milk-producing animals, because Imbolc actually means from the belly, so it's talking about a celebration of the first milk of the season. So a lot of the recipes have to do with milk, which is great. I love cheese. In fact, I just made some cheese from one of my Imbolc recipes. Didn't turn out quite right, but that's okay, it's still tasty. So what we're going to do tonight is we are going to make butter, buttermilk, and Irish soda bread, gluten-free. So for the butter, you will need the following items. You will need a blender, at least a pint of heavy cream, a cheesecloth or a fine mesh sieve, and a bowl into which to drain the buttermilk from the butter solids. So what we're going to do is we're going to pour our milk into our blender, and we're going to agitate that on high until we see the butter chunks separating out from the liquid. And then we're going to kind of scoop everything together and press it to get out the liquid, and then we're going to strain it first, then we're going to press it to get out the rest of the liquid because your butter needs to be dry. So I'm not going to show you the blending part because that'll be really, really loud. Really loud. Okay, so we're back. We were going to do the full quart, and then I remembered I had some heavy cream in the fridge already, so I went ahead and added that, and that was actually almost a pint. And then we added the quart, and that became almost 6 cups, which is too much to do at one time, so we ended up making some lovely whipped cream, which, we'll go back to that in a bit. But right now we are going to strain out our first round of butter and buttermilk. I am going to use a fine mesh sieve, and we'll see how this works. All right. Whoa!
I think we found the butter.
I think we found the butter, and why it kept seizing. Yeah, it's, as you can see in here, this is what happens. This is what is supposed to happen. This is good. It's just very difficult to see when you have 6 cups of milk in your blender. So we'll go ahead and get that out of there. And then we'll be pressing the butter and getting the rest of the liquid out in just a few moments. We'll be right back. All right, we are back. This is our current state of butter. As you can see, it's kind of lumpy and a little wet. So what we're going to do is we are going to scrape our butter into this bowl here, and we are going to press the rest of this out with the spatula, the rubber spatula I have here. And then the liquid from that pressing is going to go into this bowl. There we go. I think I need a sturdier, because this is bending upwards. So Don't use a rubber spatula for this. Use a wooden spoon or a plastic spoon. I really wish I had graduated bowls. I only have 2 sizes of bowls right now, and this is not big enough for what we need to do. This is how we learn, folks. I've never made butter before, but it is very fun, and I highly recommend it. This is definitely butter. It's very, very slippy. See that? Slippy. Going back to my Pennsylvania Dutch roots. Okay, we're going to go ahead and finish up this batch because this is going to take me a little bit, especially since my bowl size is small. And then we will come back and we will show you how to do the ice bath, why we do the ice bath, and where to go from there. All right, so we are back, and we're going to go ahead and put our butter into the ice bath. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and scoop out the ice cubes into this bowl. And since my apartment's pretty cold, the ice isn't melting like it probably normally would. But it is positively freezing in here, despite the fact I live in California. Hooray, Southern California. All right, so I'm going to move those over here, along with my spoon. And then we are going to take the butter and not plop it in here, but plop it in here. And we aren't trying to incorporate, here's mine, we aren't trying to incorporate water into this. We are literally just washing it off, and I am going to have my cameraman do this for me because this is going to trigger my Raynaud's, and that would be a bad thing. So we will be right back, and you can see what it looks like once we're done. All right, we're back. We have done our ice wash and squeezed out the water from this particular ball o' butter. This is legit butter. At this point, if you wanted, you could add a teaspoon of fine ground sea salt and mix it in with a fork. Yay, fork. I am actually, since I am making, 3 batches of butter, I'm actually going to make an unsalted batch, a salted batch, and then a herbed batch. And you will get to see what all of those look like in a bit. So you want to roll this into kind of a log-like shape and wrap it in parchment paper. Okay, there we have it. Now, at this point, if you are planning to use it for the next month or so, you can stick it right into your refrigerator. Otherwise, you can stick it into a Ziploc bag and stick it in your freezer, and it will last for up to 6 months in your freezer. And that is pretty much how you make butter. Okay, so we're back, and now that we've taken care of all of the butter that we were making, now we're going to make our Irish soda bread. Gluten-free, of course, and if you're hearing something on the stove, seeing something on the stove, that's just dinner. It's a steak and ale pie, well, pie filling. I'm not making the actual pie. And that would be Midnite adjusting the camera for me. Thanks, Midnite. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at what we need for this. particular recipe. Okay, so this is soda bread. Obviously we're going to need baking soda. You need a teaspoon of baking soda, as fresh as you can get. A teaspoon of sugar, which is optional, I'm going to use it, and 2 teaspoons of salt, which is also optional, I'm going to use it. This is 1 cup of buttermilk from our butter escapades last night, and 3 cups of gluten-free measure for measure flour. I'm using measure for measure because I know that that already has everything in it that's needed to help the dough bond together and rise, and I don't have to add anything extra to it. So it's in 2 measuring cups because my large measuring cup is still covered with heavy cream from the butter incident. So let's go ahead and get things started. We're going to go ahead and start by putting our flour into our mixing bowl here. And then we are going to add our baking soda, sugar, and salt. And we're going to mix this together. I'm going to move our pan prepared for baking the bread out of the way. I'm also going to preheat the oven while I'm thinking about it to 400 degrees. Because my oven takes a weird amount of time to preheat. Okay, so first thing we're going to do is we're going to mix all of our dry ingredients together and incorporate them. Okay, and then we are going to add our buttermilk. Okay, and then we are going to stir this to get a nice dough going here. And you only want to stir it for a few minutes, like 3 minutes max, just to try to incorporate all of that buttermilk into the flour and the other dry ingredients. This is looking a little bit dry. Unfortunately, I don't have any more buttermilk, so I'm going to have to sub in a little bit of a different type of milk just to make sure that it's moist enough. You only need to add a little bit at a time. That's the one problem that gluten-free flours have, is they tend to be drier and require a bit more milk than normal. Behold, milk appears on my table. We just got some new milk in. This is a very odd looking cup. This is hemp milk, and I've never used it before, so this will be an experience and an adventure. Okay. It's important not to overwork the dough, but it's also important to make sure the dough is actually, dough and sticking and not just flour. Okay. Okay, it's about time to start getting in there with our hands to do this, so I'm going to take off my rings and move my shirt sleeves. All right. Okay, so we've mixed our dough together. This is very sticky. That's a good thing. We've mixed the dough together, and now we're going to basically knead it for about 30 seconds or so, as long as I can stand having things stuck to my fingers and under my fingernails. It's not really my thing. This is the one thing about baking I don't like. The actual getting your hands dirty. Okay, and once we get this all kneaded together and it holds together, that's the key. We'll stick it on our prepared baking sheet and go from there. This might need a little bit more milk. I'll come back in a minute and show you how this looks. All right, so once you get it sticking together and you form your ball, you're going to put it on your either floured, which is traditional baking sheet, or a baking sheet with parchment paper on it. Then you're going to flatten it out to about an 8-inch round disc, and then we're going to score it, and you want to make sure that your cut is approximately 1 inch deep. I'm hoping my cameraman gives me a sign. And okay, just like that. Now if you want to do something fancy because it's Imbolc or whatever, you can put another score across it to make it look more like a star. I'm just going to do it the traditional way with just the 4 of them. Once the oven comes to temperature, it goes into a 400-degree oven for 40 to 45 minutes. It should sound hollow when it comes out, and then it'll rest for 15 minutes and then you can serve it. So we'll be back with that. Okay, so it's been about 45 minutes and the bread seems to be ready, so let's go ahead and take it out. And can you hear it? That's the sound you're going for. So this needs to rest for about 15 minutes with a towel over it, and then it'll be ready to serve. If you like what you see here today, feel free to hit that like button and leave me a comment. If you didn't like what you saw today, go ahead and hit that dislike button, but leave me a comment and let me know why. You can also subscribe to the channel for more fun videos, including the one that we're going to use the buttermilk for that we made. And you can also head over to Patreon and show me a little support there. Maybe I can graduate my bowls, depending on how many of you decide to help support me over there. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.